Welcome back to the Coloring Book channel. Today I worked on a beautiful drawing of a deer in Yosemite Park with some mountains in the background, a little stream, the deer in the plains, and it was a beautiful drawing, so I thought I would try out my new oil-based pencils. These are Magicfly pencils, a set of 72 different colored pencils, 3mm break-resistant lead. So, and I also found some techniques in the information they provided on shading, and I thought I would try that out. Also from some other artists that I've watched on the web. So like you, I'm watching various artists on the web coloring adult and children drawings to see what kind of works best, get some tips for when I'm coloring with grandkids, and also to get some tips for my own drawing. I'm constantly trying to improve and get better and better. So I was really pleased with these pencils, and the colors came out really vibrant, and were bright. 72 colors was enough to give me plenty of contrast between the things that I was drawing. So as you can see, I did the deer with a really light, kind of a yellow brown, the whole deer, and then I picked a darker brown and went back and hit some of the highlights, leaving a few of the lighter color to show through. Then I worked on the antlers with the gray because a white really wouldn't show up, but used the gray and then touched it up with a little bit of brown. But then I quit on the deer and I started working on the background to see if I'd get any more ideas. Sometimes I come back I like to start with a main focal point to get those colors down, and then do the backgrounds to blend in with that. And then if I get any new ideas on what I think would make it look better, I'll circle back to the deer and add some additional highlights here or there. But I used a forest green or a hooker green on these pine trees. And then I would try and mix in some different colors. So I try and do like a forest green and then some lighter greens, put in a few strips of some other ones. In that one, I tried to put in a green. I didn't like the way it turned out, so I erased it and moved on. But now I'm going back over, hitting some shading with a darker color green. I'm trying to get all the pine trees in the early close background and the far background done, so that I have a good idea what they look like. Then I used like a sage color green to kind of fill in some bushes in the far background. And then I'm going to come back and work on some water. I wanted to get the ground kind of done, and so I put in some grass type colors with a little bit of yellow for maybe lighter grass, and then worked in the water. I think the water works best if I do a light colored water blue, and then pick some relatively dark blue to go through and add some shading here or there for the ripples. I was trying to decide what to do with the ground and the foreground. I didn't want it to be all green. So I picked some yellow to deal with maybe some straw-like type of grass, and maybe a little brown here or there to indicate trails the deer may have walked on. And so I add those in. There was a mistake in the sketch, as you may have noticed, around the deer's legs. Looked like they gave him 3 hind legs. So I tried to cover that up with some darker green and just blow all that and just ignore that little mistake. Not sure how well that turned out, but that's kind of what I was doing there in the foreground. Now in the very front of the sketch, there's some rocks. I had to decide, do I make them brown or gray? I chose to do them mostly gray. And then I had to decide what to do with the plants. I wanted to add some color. I didn't want them to all be the same color green, so I did some really dark green right at the foot of the deer. Then I dusted a number of plants around the rocks in darker greens. Then I put in a few that were kind of brownish, maybe brownish orange, and some lighter green. Then I worked on the rocks and made them a nice gray with some really dark, like a Davies gray, covering for our shading. So that's kind of how I approached this drawing. Hope you liked how it turned out. I was pretty pleased with it. You may notice as I get here in a second, I'm going to work on the mountains. And I made the mountains in the foreground a nice gray. Put some darker shading to show where the sun is not shining. Then I moved to the mountains in the far background. I decided to make them a purple just to add some color to the back. And those purple mountains, majesty we always hear about. And then I'm going to work on the sky as a really light blue to kind of top it off. There's some clouds up there that need some color. So there's the mountains. I'm coloring in a light purple, those purple majestic mountains. And then I'm going to hit the sky with a light blue and the clouds with a really light gray and just some really light outlining even. I kind of wanted them to be as white as possible, so I did color the white on them first, but then went over them with gray, which I think would give them a nice touch. That's what I came up with this sketch. This sketch can be found on ourmindfullife.com. I give the link in my description of the video. I try to do that for every video I get so that you can find the sketch and make a copy yourself and print it out if you enjoy it.